The salvage yard stretched for miles across the barren moon of Kepler 442b, a graveyard of broken ships and forgotten technology. Among the twisted metal and shattered dreams, something moved. Not the usual scavenger bots or the occasional smuggler looking for spare parts, but something that shouldn't have been there at all. Marcus Chen wiped the grease from his hands and squinted through the toxic atmosphere. His scanner had picked up a life sign, which was impossible. Nothing organic survived in this wasteland. The air was poison, the ground was radioactive, and the temperature swung between freezing and boiling every 6 hours. But there it was again, a faint pulse on his screen. Marcus adjusted his breathing mask and climbed down from the massive cargo hauler he'd been stripping for parts. His boots crunched on the crystallized soil as he followed the signal deeper into the yard. The other mechanics at Station 7 had laughed when he'd mentioned it during lunch. "Probably just a malfunctioning bioscanner," Rodriguez had said. "Those old models pick up electrical interference all the time." "Leave it alone," Zara had warned. "Even if something is alive out there, it's not our problem. We're here to salvage, not play rescue squad." But Marcus couldn't ignore it. 20 years of working in space had taught him to trust his instincts, and right now they were screaming at him to investigate. The signal led him to a crashed shuttle half buried in metallic sand. The ship's hull bore strange markings he didn't recognize, neither human nor any of the known alien scripts from the Galactic Trade Alliance. Whatever this was, it had come from far beyond chartered space. Marcus circled the wreck carefully. The damage was extensive but recent. Plasma burns scored the hull, and one engine had been completely torn away. This wasn't a crash. Someone had shot this ship down. The life sign was stronger now, coming from inside the shuttle. Marcus found an emergency hatch that had been blown open from the inside. Dark stains covered the edges. Blood, but not red like human blood. This was silver, almost luminescent in the pale light of the moon's 3 suns. He activated his helmet light and peered inside. The shuttle's interior was a disaster. Seats torn apart, control panels smashed, and more of that silver blood everywhere. Whatever had happened here, it had been violent. Then he saw it. In the far corner of the shuttle, barely visible beneath a pile of debris, was a creature unlike anything in the xenobiology databases. It was massive, easily 8 feet long, covered in what looked like metallic fur that shifted and moved like liquid mercury. The body shape was distinctly wolf-like, with 4 powerful legs and a long snout filled with razor-sharp teeth. But this was no earth wolf. The creature's chest rose and fell in shallow, labored breaths. Its eyes, 3 of them arranged in a triangle on its head, were closed. One of its hind legs was twisted at an unnatural angle, and silver blood seeped from multiple wounds across its body. Marcus took a step back. His mind raced through the protocols. Unknown species were supposed to be reported immediately. The authorities would send a containment team, the creature would be taken for study, and that would be that. But looking at the broken thing before him, Marcus hesitated. The salvage yards were full of stories about the Xenocide Wars, when humanity had first encountered hostile alien life. The official history painted humans as heroes who had defended Earth against unprovoked aggression. But Marcus had met enough old-timers who told different stories. Stories about misunderstandings, about fear-driving policy, about shoot first, ask questions later becoming the norm. This creature, whatever it was, had been shot down and left to die, just like so many others. Marcus activated his comm unit, then paused. Once he made this call, the creature's fate would be sealed. It would become another specimen, another casualty of interspecies paranoia. His finger hovered over the transmission button. The creature's eyes suddenly snapped open. All 3 of them fixed on Marcus with an intelligence that made his breath catch. For a long moment, neither moved. Then the creature tried to lift its head, letting out a sound that was part growl, part whimper. It was in pain, terrible pain. Easy there, Marcus heard himself say, his voice muffled by the breathing mask. I'm not going to hurt you. The creature's 3 eyes narrowed, studying him. Then, to Marcus's amazement, it spoke. Not with its mouth, but directly into his mind. They left me to die. The mental voice was weak, fading. Images flashed through Marcus's consciousness. A ship under attack, crew members abandoning their injured packmate. The crash. The long, agonizing wait for death that wouldn't come. My own pack. They said I was too damaged. Resources too valuable to waste on the dying. Marcus felt a surge of anger. He'd seen this before, in human mining operations where injured workers were written off as acceptable losses, but somehow, seeing it from an alien culture made it even worse. He'd always thought humans were uniquely cruel in their practicality. Apparently not. "What's your name?" Marcus asked, kneeling beside the creature. Korthax, scout hunter of the Silver Pack. Well, Korthax, I'm Marcus. And where I come from, we don't leave anyone behind, not even alien wolves who probably shouldn't exist. Korthax's 3 eyes widened slightly. You would help me? But I am not your species, not your concern. Marcus pulled out his emergency medical kit, knowing it was designed for humans and probably useless for whatever biology Korthax had. But he had to try something. That's where you're wrong, Marcus said, examining the twisted leg. See, humans have this stupid trait. We tend to help things that need helping, even when it's not logical, even when it's dangerous, especially when someone else has given up on them. He looked at the wounds covering Korthax's body. They were bad, really bad. Without proper medical treatment, the alien wolf would die within hours. The nearest hospital was back at Station 7, and they didn't treat unknown alien species. Too much liability. But Marcus knew someone who might help. Dr. Sarah Chen, no relation, despite the shared surname, ran an underground clinic in the lower levels of the station. She treated anyone who couldn't go to official channels, smugglers, refugees, unregistered aliens. If anyone could save Korthax, it would be her. The problem was getting a massive alien wolf out of the salvage yard without being noticed. Security drones patrolled regularly, and his supervisor did random check-ins. Plus, Korthax was too big to fit in his small transport pod. Marcus looked around the crashed shuttle. The cargo hold was mostly intact, and there was a hover sled that might still work. If he could get Korthax onto the sled and cover him with salvage tarps. "This is going to hurt," Marcus warned. "I need to move you onto that sled. Can you help me at all?" Korthax tried to move, but collapsed with a psychic cry of pain that made Marcus wince. "I cannot. Too weak." Marcus gritted his teeth. He'd have to do this himself. First, he needed to stabilize that leg. Using metal strips from the shuttle's interior and industrial tape from his kit, he created a crude splint. Korthax endured the process in silence, though Marcus could feel waves of agony radiating from the creature's mind. Next came the hard part. Marcus positioned the hover sled as close as possible, then began the grueling process of moving Korthax. The alien wolf was even heavier than he looked, his metallic fur surprisingly dense. It took every ounce of Marcus's strength and several creative uses of leverage to get Korthax onto the sled. By the time he finished, Marcus was drenched in sweat, and his muscles screamed in protest. But Korthax was on the sled, covered with salvage tarps that would hopefully fool any casual inspection. Marcus checked his chronometer. He had 2 hours before his shift ended. 2 hours to get Korthax out of the salvage yard and to Dr. Chen's clinic. 2 hours to save a life that everyone else had written off. He activated the hover sled and began the journey back to his transport pod. Every shadow could be a security drone. Every sound might be another salvager who would ask questions. His heart pounded as he navigated through the maze of wreckage. Halfway to his pod, disaster struck. A security drone rounded a pile of scrap metal, its scanner sweeping the area. Marcus froze. If the drone detected Korthax's life signs, the drone paused, its red sensor fixed on the covered sled. Marcus held his breath. After what felt like an eternity, the drone moved on. The tarps and metal debris had been enough to mask Korthax's biological signature. Finally, Marcus reached his transport pod. It was a small, beat-up vessel that he'd rebuilt from salvage parts. Not pretty, but reliable. The cargo space was just big enough for the hover sled if he removed some equipment. As he loaded Korthax, the alien wolf's mental voice whispered in his mind. Why? Why do you risk yourself for me? Marcus paused, considering the question. Honestly, I don't know. Maybe because I've seen too many things thrown away in these yards, ships, dreams, lives. Maybe because everyone deserves a chance, even alien wolves from unknown space. He sealed the cargo hold and climbed into the pilot's seat. The station loomed in the distance, a massive structure hanging in the void. Somewhere in those lower levels, Dr. Chen was probably treating some other lost soul. Soon, she'd have one more patient, one that would test even her considerable skills. As Marcus fired up the engines, he thought about what he was risking. His job, certainly. His freedom, possibly. His life, if Korthax turned out to be more dangerous than he appeared. But looking back at the salvage yard, at all those broken dreams and abandoned hopes, Marcus knew he'd made the right choice. Because sometimes the impossible was just something that hadn't been tried by the right person yet. And if there was one thing humans were good at, it was attempting the impossible. The transport pod lifted off, leaving the graveyard behind. In the cargo hold, an alien wolf clung to life, surprised by the kindness of a species he'd never encountered before. And at the controls, a human mechanic named Marcus Chen began to understand why some called his species insane. They helped things that didn't make sense to help. They saved lives that others had abandoned. They did the impossible, simply because it was the right thing to do. The journey to Station 7 had begun, and with it, a friendship that would challenge everything both species thought they knew about the universe. Station 7's lower levels were a different world from the gleaming corporate sections above. Down here, the air recyclers worked at half capacity, the lights flickered constantly, and the corridors were narrow and maze-like. But for those who needed to disappear, who couldn't exist in the official records, it was home. Marcus guided his hover sled through the crowded passages, keeping his head down and avoiding eye contact. The residents of the lower levels had learned not to ask questions. Everyone here had secrets, and the unspoken rule was simple: mind your own business, and others would mind theirs. Dr. Sarah Chen's clinic was tucked between a noodle shop that never closed and a parts dealer who definitely didn't ask where his merchandise came from. The sign outside simply read, repairs, which could mean anything from cybernetic implants to broken bones to alien physiology. Marcus pressed the buzzer and waited. A camera above the door swiveled to examine him, then the locks disengaged with a series of clicks. The door opened to reveal Dr. Chen herself, a small woman with sharp eyes and steady hands that had saved more lives than anyone could count. "Marcus," she said, not surprised. In the lower levels, word traveled fast. "I heard you were bringing me something interesting." "How did you—" Marcus began, then shook his head. "Never mind. Sarah, I need your help. I've got a wounded— well, I'm not sure what to call him." Sarah's eyes moved to the covered sled. "Bring him in, quickly." The clinic's interior was a mix of high-tech medical equipment salvaged from decommissioned ships and improvised solutions that would make official medical boards faint. Sarah had learned to work with whatever she could get, and her results spoke for themselves. Marcus maneuvered the sled into the main treatment room, then carefully pulled back the tarps. Sarah's expression didn't change as she took in Korthax's alien form, but Marcus saw her pupils dilate slightly. "Fascinating," she murmured, already pulling on surgical gloves. "I've never seen anything like this. The fur appears to be some kind of metallic composite. And 3 eyes. The neural configuration must be incredible." Korthax's eyes fluttered open at the sound of her voice. "Another human?" Sarah froze. "Did he just—" "Telepathic," Marcus explained. "His name is Korthax. He's a scout hunter of something called the Silver Pack. His own people shot him down and left him to die." Sarah's expression hardened. She'd seen too much cruelty in her time to be surprised, but it still made her angry. "Well, they're idiots. Marcus, help me get him onto the surgical table. We need to work fast." Together, they transferred Korthax to the reinforced table Sarah used for her larger patients. The alien wolf was barely conscious now, his breathing shallow and labored. Sarah began her examination, her fingers gentle but efficient as she cataloged his injuries. "Multiple plasma burns, severe tissue damage, compound fracture of what I assume is his femur equivalent," she muttered, half to herself. "And his blood. It's not just silver in color, it actually contains metallic elements. His entire biology is unlike anything in my databases." "Can you save him?" Marcus asked. Sarah looked up at him. "I don't know. I'm flying blind here. His anatomy is completely foreign. I could try to help and end up killing him faster." "Do what you must." Korthax's mental voice was barely a whisper. "I am already dying. You cannot make it worse." Sarah nodded, her jaw set with determination. "All right then. Marcus, I'm going to need your help. We'll start with the basics. Stop the bleeding, stabilize the fracture, treat the burns. The same principles should apply even if the biology is different." For the next several hours, Marcus assisted as Sarah worked miracles with limited resources and no knowledge of her patient's physiology. She had to improvise constantly, using her scanner to map Korthax's internal structure in real time, guessing at which organs were vital and which were secondary. The metallic nature of Korthax's blood proved both a challenge and an advantage. It clotted differently than organic blood, requiring Sarah to use electromagnetic fields to encourage coagulation. But once clotted, it formed an incredibly strong seal that would help prevent further bleeding. The broken leg was another puzzle. Korthax's bones weren't like Earth mammals. They seemed to be a hybrid of organic material and metal fibers, incredibly strong but also complex in structure. Sarah had to use her most advanced bone knitter, usually reserved for cybernetic integration, and even then she wasn't sure it would work. Throughout the procedure, Korthax remained conscious, his 3 eyes watching everything with a mixture of pain and wonder. Occasionally, he would project thoughts to Marcus. "Your species handles pain differently than mine." "What do you mean?" Marcus asked, monitoring the alien wolf's vital signs on a jury-rigged scanner. "My people. We hide weakness. Pain is shame. To show it is to invite abandonment." Marcus felt another surge of anger toward the Silver Pack. "That's stupid. Pain is just your body telling you something's wrong. It's not weakness, it's communication. You humans are strange. You help the weak, tend the injured, waste resources on those who cannot contribute." "It's not waste," Sarah said firmly, not looking up from her work. "Every life has value. Every person, or alien wolf, deserves a chance to heal and contribute again. That's what makes us human." "But what if they never contribute again? What if they remain broken?" Sarah's hands paused for just a moment. "Then we help them anyway, because the measure of a civilization isn't how it treats its strongest members, it's how it treats its weakest." Marcus saw something change in Korthax's eyes. A shift in understanding, perhaps. Or maybe just the pain medication Sarah had managed to synthesize finally taking effect. As the hours wore on, other residents of the lower levels began to notice something was happening. They gathered outside the clinic, not entering but curious. Word spread quickly. Doc Chen was working on something big, something alien. Among the crowd was Thomas, a veteran who'd lost his legs in the Xenocide Wars. He'd been one of the most vocal opponents of alien integration, his bitterness running deep. But as he watched through the clinic window, seeing Sarah and Marcus fighting to save an alien life, something in his expression softened. "What kind of alien is it?" he asked one of the other observers. "Don't know. Never seen anything like it. Looks like some kind of metal wolf." Thomas was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Doc Chen saved my life when the VA wrote me off. If she thinks this thing deserves saving, then maybe it does." Inside the clinic, Sarah was reaching the critical point of the surgery. The internal damage was worse than she'd initially thought. Several organs she couldn't identify were failing, and Korthax's unique biology meant she couldn't use standard life support. "Marcus, I need you to talk to him," Sarah said urgently. "Keep him conscious. If he goes under now, I don't think I can bring him back." Marcus moved closer to Korthax's head. "Hey, stay with us. Tell me about your pack. Tell me about where you come from." Korthax's mental voice was fading. "The silver reaches, beyond the spiral arm. We hunt the void whales, sing to the stars." Images flowed into Marcus's mind. A world of metallic forests under triple suns, packs running together across plains of crystal, massive space-dwelling creatures that the Silver Pack hunted not for food, but for sport and honor. "That sounds beautiful," Marcus said. "You'll see it again. Just stay with us." "Why? Why do you care if I see it again?" Marcus thought about it. "Because everyone should have the chance to go home. Everyone should have someone who refuses to give up on them." Sarah made a final adjustment. And suddenly Korthax's vitals stabilized. The alien wolf's breathing deepened, becoming more regular. The silver blood had stopped leaking from his wounds. I think we did it," Sarah said, exhaustion clear in her voice. "He's stable. The next few hours will be critical, but if he makes it through the night, he should recover." Marcus slumped against the wall, only now realizing how tired he was. "You're amazing, Sarah." "We're amazing," she corrected. "I couldn't have done this without you. And honestly, I'm not sure I would have tried. Most doctors would have called authorities the moment they saw him." "Why didn't you?" Sarah pulled off her gloves and looked at Korthax, who had finally succumbed to exhaustion and fallen into a deep sleep. "Because 20 years ago, I was an undocumented refugee from the Mars colonies. No ID, no rights, no hope. A human doctor took a chance on me, treated my radiation sickness when he could have turned me in. He saved my life and asked for nothing in return." She smiled sadly. "He said something I've never forgotten. The universe is cold and vast and doesn't care about any of us. That's why we have to care about each other. I became a doctor because of him, and I work down here because everyone deserves what he gave me. A chance." A soft chime indicated someone entering the clinic. Both Marcus and Sarah tensed, then relaxed as they saw who it was. Captain Eva Rodriguez of Station Security, but not in uniform. Eva was one of the few officers who understood that sometimes the law and justice weren't the same thing. "Heard you two were causing trouble," Eva said mildly. "An unknown alien species, really? Do you know how many regulations you're breaking?" "Are you here to arrest us?" Sarah asked, too tired to be worried. Eva studied Korthax's sleeping form. "That depends. Is he dangerous?" "His own people shot him down and left him to die," Marcus said. "I don't think he's the dangerous one." Eva nodded slowly. The official report will state that you found and treated a wounded dog, a really big dog, with unusual coloring. The security footage from this section mysteriously corrupted itself about 3 hours ago. Sarah and Marcus exchanged glances. Ava, I don't know what to say. Don't say anything. Just make sure he recovers. And when he does, maybe think about finding him somewhere safer than Station 7. The universe is getting smaller every day, and not everyone is as understanding as the lower levels. With that, Ava left, and the clinic fell quiet, except for the sound of Korthax's breathing and the hum of medical equipment. Marcus found a chair and collapsed into it. You should go, Sarah said. Your supervisor is probably wondering where you are. I called in sick, Marcus admitted. Figured I'd already broken a dozen regulations. What's one more? Sarah laughed, a tired but genuine sound. You're going to make a terrible criminal, Marcus. Too much conscience. Speaking of which, what happens when he wakes up? We can't keep him hidden forever. Sarah began cleaning up her equipment. One problem at a time. First, we make sure he survives. Then we figure out where an alien wolf can live in a universe that's afraid of anything different. As if responding to their conversation, Korthax stirred slightly. His mental voice, though weak, reached both of them. I heard you. Both of you. Thank you. Rest now, Sarah said gently. You're safe here. Safe. The concept seemed foreign to him. My pack. They said safety was for the weak, that only the strong deserved to survive. Your pack was wrong, Marcus said firmly. Strength isn't just about who can fight. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is ask for help, and the strongest people are those who give it. Korthax's eyes closed again, but not before sending one more thought. I want to learn this human strength. Outside the clinic, the crowd had grown larger. Word had spread through the entire lower level. An alien was being saved by human doctors. An alien that others had abandoned. It was the kind of story that gave people hope, reminded them that compassion could exist even in the darkest places. Thomas, the war veteran, had wheeled himself to the front of the crowd. When someone suggested they should report this to the authorities, he blocked the door with his chair. Anyone who wants to turn in Doc Chen or that alien has to go through me first, he announced. And I may not have legs, but I've still got enough fight in me to make you regret it. Others nodded in agreement. The residents of the lower levels had found their hill to die on, and it was protecting one of their own who had chosen to protect someone else. Inside, unaware of the gathering support outside, Marcus and Sarah maintained their vigil. They talked quietly, sharing stories and keeping each other awake. Sometimes Korthax would stir and they would reassure him, let him know he wasn't alone. As the station's artificial night cycle began, Sarah ran another scan. His healing rate is remarkable. The metallic components in his biology seem to be accelerating repair. At this rate, he'll be mobile within a few days. And then what? Marcus asked. Sarah was quiet for a moment. I don't know. But whatever happens, we've proven something important today. We've shown that humans can be better than our fears, better than our prejudices. We've shown that compassion doesn't stop at species boundaries. Marcus nodded, looking at the sleeping alien wolf. Korthax was still gravely injured, still far from home, still abandoned by his own kind. But he was alive, and he was no longer alone. Sometimes, that was enough. Sometimes, that was everything. The night stretched on, and in a small clinic in the forgotten sections of Station 7, two humans kept watch over an impossible patient. They had done what others said couldn't be done, what others said shouldn't be done. They had saved a life that everyone else had written off, and in doing so, they had begun to save so much more. 3 days passed in the lower levels of Station 7, and word of the alien wolf had spread far beyond the forgotten corridors. What had started as a whispered rumor had become something else entirely, a symbol of hope for those who had been written off by society. Korthax's recovery had been nothing short of miraculous. His metallic biology, which had initially puzzled Sarah, proved to be incredibly adaptive. The bones knitted together stronger than before. The plasma burns healed into faint scars that looked like silver rivers across his fur, and his strength returned with surprising speed. But more than his body had healed. Something fundamental had changed in the alien wolf's understanding of the universe. Marcus arrived at the clinic early on the fourth day to find Korthax standing on his own, his three eyes bright and alert. The alien wolf's mental voice was strong now, no longer the fading whisper of a dying creature. Marcus Chen, Korthax projected, and there was something like warmth in the mental touch. I have been thinking. Dangerous habit, Marcus said with a smile, setting down the bag of supplies he'd brought. What about? About strength, about weakness, about everything my pack taught me and everything you and Dr. Sarah have shown me. Korthax moved carefully, still favoring his injured leg, but clearly mobile. His metallic fur rippled with each movement, catching the dim light of the clinic like liquid starlight. My people believe that survival belongs only to the strong, that helping the weak diminishes the pack. But I have seen something different here. Sarah emerged from her office, dark circles under her eyes from 3 days of constant monitoring. You've seen humans being idiots, she said dryly, risking everything for a stranger. No. Korthax's mental voice was firm. I have seen true strength, the strength to choose compassion when fear would be easier, the strength to heal instead of harm, the strength to stand against your own kind for what you believe is right. Marcus and Sarah exchanged glances. Through the clinic window, they could see the crowd that had become a constant presence. The residents of the lower levels had formed an unofficial guard, making sure no one disturbed the doctor or her unusual patient. Speaking of standing against our own kind, Sarah said quietly, we have a problem. Word has reached the upper levels. The corporate executives want to know why there's been so much activity down here, and Captain Rodriguez can only cover for us for so long. Marcus had been expecting this. You couldn't hide something like Korthax forever, especially on a space station where gossip traveled faster than light. What are our options? He asked. Few and far between, Sarah admitted. We could try to smuggle him off station, but where would he go? He can't return to his own people, and most human colonies wouldn't accept him. There is another option, Korthax interrupted. I could turn myself in, claim I forced you to help me. You would be cleared of wrongdoing. Absolutely not, Marcus said immediately. We didn't save your life just to hand you over to some corporate lab. But I have already caused you so much trouble. Your jobs, your safety. Sarah laughed, though there was little humor in it. Korthax, I've been causing trouble for the authorities for 20 years. This is just Tuesday for me. Before anyone could respond, the clinic door chimed. All three tensed, then relaxed as Captain Rodriguez entered, this time in full uniform. Her expression was grim. We have a situation, Eva said without preamble. The board of directors has dispatched a containment team. They'll be here within the hour. They know about Korthax, and they're invoking the Xenological Security Act. Marcus felt his heart sink. The XSA gave authorities broad powers to detain any unknown alien species for study and threat assessment. It had been passed during the height of the Xenocide Wars and never repealed. How long do we have? Sarah asked, already moving to pack essential supplies. Maybe 40 minutes before they lock down the lower levels, Eva replied. But there's more. I've been monitoring communications. This isn't just about one alien. The Silver Pack has put out a bounty on Korthax. They want him back, dead or alive. Korthax's ears flattened against his head, a gesture that looked remarkably like shame. I have brought danger to all of you. My pack does not tolerate weakness, and my survival is an insult to their laws. Their laws are stupid, Marcus said bluntly, and we're not handing you over to them either. Eva pulled out a data pad. There is one option. It's not perfect, but it might work. There's a ship leaving in 30 minutes. The Wanderer's Hope, Captain Zhao commanding. She owes me a favor, and she's heading for the frontier colonies. The frontier? Sarah frowned. That's barely civilized space. Pirates, smugglers, failed terraforming projects. And people who don't ask questions about unusual passengers, Eva finished. It's not ideal, but it's better than a containment cell or whatever the Silver Pack would do to him. Korthax stood to his full height, and for the first time, Marcus could see the warrior he had been. I will not run. Not anymore. I have spent my life following orders, believing what I was told about strength and weakness. But you have shown me another way. The alien wolf moved to the window, looking out at the crowd that had protected him without even knowing him. My pack abandoned me because they saw only weakness. But humans saw potential. You risked everything not for gain, but because it was right. This is strength my people cannot understand. That's very poetic, Eva said impatiently. But we're running out of time. What's your decision? Korthax turned back to them, and his 3 eyes held a determination Marcus had never seen before. I choose to stay, not to be captured, but to stand witness. Let your authorities come. Let my pack come. I will tell them all what I have learned here, that true strength comes from lifting others up, not casting them down. Sarah started to protest, but Marcus held up a hand. He could see it in Korthax's posture, hear it in his mental voice. The alien wolf had made his choice. All right, Marcus said. Then we do this together. Sarah, how many of your patients can walk? Sarah blinked in surprise. Most of them. But why? Because if they're going to arrest someone for showing compassion, they'll have to arrest all of us. Eva stared at him. Marcus, that's insane. You're talking about starting a riot. No, Marcus corrected. I'm talking about standing up for what's right. Just like you did when you covered for us. Just like Sarah does every day in this clinic. Just like those people outside have been doing for 3 days. He moved to the door. Korthax is right. We've spent too long being afraid. Afraid of the different. Afraid of the unknown. Afraid of showing weakness. But compassion isn't weakness. It's the greatest strength we have. Sarah looked at Eva. You should leave. You don't need to be part of this. Eva sighed deeply, then removed her captain's insignia. 20 years I've worn this uniform. 20 years of enforcing laws that don't always align with justice. Maybe it's time I remembered why I became a cop in the first place. She tucked the insignia in her pocket. To protect and serve. All beings, not just the ones deemed acceptable. Together they opened the clinic doors. The crowd outside had grown even larger. Tomas was still at the front in his wheelchair, but now he was joined by dozens of others. Former soldiers, refugee families, modified humans who didn't fit the corporate ideal, aliens from species barely tolerated by human law. Marcus stepped forward. The authorities are coming. They want to take Korthax, to treat him like a specimen instead of a person. We can't stop them, but we can stand witness. We can show them that humanity is better than fear. About time someone said it, Thomas growled. I've spent 10 years hating aliens because of what happened in the war. But watching Doc Chen save this one, watching all of you protect him, maybe I've been wrong. Maybe we all have. The crowd murmured agreement. Someone started moving medical equipment to create a barrier. Others linked arms. Within minutes, the entrance to the clinic was blocked by bodies, a living wall of humanities forgotten and discarded. Korthax emerged from the clinic, and a hush fell over the crowd. Many had heard about the alien wolf, but few had seen him. His metallic fur caught the flickering lights, making him seem like a creature of living silver. His 3 eyes surveyed the crowd with what could only be called wonder. "All of you." His mental voice reached out, touching every mind present. "You do not know me. I am not your kind. Yet you stand for me. Why?" An elderly woman, her face marked by radiation scars, spoke up. "Because 40 years ago, I was a refugee from Europa. No one wanted me. No one except the people down here. They didn't care that I was different. They just saw someone who needed help." A young man with obvious cybernetic modifications nodded. "The Corps called me a failed experiment. Said I was too modified to be human anymore. Doc Chen proved them wrong. She saw me as a person, not a problem." One by one, they shared their stories, each one a testament to the power of compassion over fear, acceptance over prejudice. And with each story, Korthax stood a little taller, his mental presence growing stronger. The sound of heavy boots echoed from the corridor. The containment team had arrived. 20 corporate security officers in full tactical gear, led by a man whose face was hidden behind a reflective visor. "By order of the board of directors," the leader announced, his voice amplified by speakers, "you will disperse immediately. The alien designated as Unknown 7 is to be remanded to custody for proper processing." No one moved. "This is your final warning," the leader continued. "Disperse or face arrest for violation of the Xenological Security Act." Marcus stepped forward. "His name is Korthax. He's a scout hunter of the Silver Pack. He likes stories about Earth's oceans because his world has no large bodies of water. He's recovering from injuries inflicted by his own people because they thought compassion was weakness. He's not Unknown 7. He's a person." The leader's hand moved to his weapon. "Stand aside, citizen." "No." The simple word came from Captain Rodriguez. She stood in her civilian clothes, but her bearing was still that of an officer. "I've spent my career enforcing the law, but sometimes the law is wrong. Sometimes doing right means standing against what's legal." The leader hesitated. "Captain Rodriguez, you're involved in this?" "We all are," Sarah added, moving to stand beside Ava. "Every person here has made a choice. We choose compassion over fear. We choose to see people, not problems. We choose to be better than our worst impulses." The containment team shifted uncertainly. They were equipped to handle a dangerous alien. They weren't prepared for a peaceful crowd of humans protecting that alien. Then, from behind the security team, came new voices. Corporate workers from the upper levels, coming off their shifts. They had heard about the standoff, and curiosity had drawn them down. "What's going on?" someone asked. Thomas raised his voice. "They want to lock up an injured being whose only crime was accepting help from humans. They want to punish Doc Chen for saving a life. They want to arrest all of us for showing basic decency." The corporate workers looked uncomfortable. Many of them had family in the lower levels, friends who had fallen on hard times. The divide between upper and lower was real, but it wasn't absolute. The containment team leader activated his comm. "This is Team Leader Briggs. We have a situation. The entire lower level appears to be in peaceful rebellion. Please advise." While he waited for instructions, Korthax moved forward. The security team tensed, weapons rising. But the alien wolf sat on his haunches, a non-threatening pose that his injured leg made slightly awkward. "I wish to speak," he projected, his mental voice reaching everyone present, security included. "I am Korthax of the Silver Pack." Or I was. My pack cast me out, left me to die because I could not contribute. They said I was weak, a drain on resources. He looked at Marcus and Sarah. "These humans found me dying. They had every reason to fear me, to report me, to leave me as my own people did. Instead, they risked everything to save me. Not for reward, not for advantage. Simply because they could not bear to see suffering and do nothing. His three eyes fixed on the containment team leader. I have learned more about strength in 4 days with humans than in 40 years with my pack. You fear me because I am different, but look around you. Look at all these different beings standing together. This is your true strength. This is what makes humanity remarkable. The leader's calm crackled. Team leader Briggs, corporate says to withdraw. The publicity of arresting an entire level would be problematic. Unknown 7 is to be granted temporary refugee status pending further review. A cheer went up from the crowd, but Korthax wasn't finished. There is more. My pack will come for me. They cannot tolerate my survival. When they do, I will face them. But not alone. I will stand with those who stood with me. And perhaps in time, even the Silver Pack will learn what you have taught me. The containment team withdrew, their leader pausing to look back at the crowd. His reflective visor made his expression unreadable, but his posture suggested thoughtfulness rather than anger. As the immediate threat passed, the crowd began to disperse slowly. But something had changed. The people of the lower levels walked a little taller, looked each other in the eye a little more. They had stood together and won, not through violence, but through simple human decency. Marcus, Sarah, and Eva gathered around Korthax in the clinic. The alien wolf was trembling slightly, though whether from exhaustion or emotion was unclear. "You know this isn't over," Eva said quietly. "Temporary refugee status isn't permanent. And if your pack really does come, then we will face that together as well," Korthax replied. "I have learned something important. Humans do not abandon pack, even when that pack includes a metal wolf from beyond known space." Sarah laughed tiredly. "Well, you're officially my most complicated patient, and that's saying something." "What will you do now?" Marcus asked. Korthax considered. "I would like to stay, if you will have me. There is much I still need to learn about human concepts of compassion and strength, and perhaps I can teach others of my kind what you have taught me." Over the following weeks, Korthax became a fixture in the lower levels. He helped Sarah in the clinic, his telepathic abilities proving invaluable for communicating with patients who couldn't speak. He joined Marcus on salvage runs, his alien senses detecting valuable materials others might miss. But more importantly, his presence changed things. The story of the alien wolf, saved by human compassion, spread beyond Station 7. Other aliens living in hiding began to emerge, seeking the acceptance they had found. Humans who had harbored prejudice began to question their assumptions. Thomas became one of Korthax's closest friends, the war veteran and the alien wolf bonding over their shared experiences of conflict and recovery. "Funny thing," Thomas said one day, "I spent so long hating aliens for taking my legs. Never realized humans had taken more from me. My hope, my ability to see others as people. You helped me get that back." "You helped yourself," Korthax replied. "You made the choice to see me as more than an enemy." That took true courage. 3 months later, when a Silver Pack hunting ship arrived at Station 7, they found something unexpected. Not a lone, weakened pack member to be eliminated, but an entire community ready to stand for one of their own. The pack leader, a massive creature even larger than Korthax, emerged from his ship with an escort of warriors. His mental voice boomed across the docking bay. "You harbor a traitor and weakling. Surrender him and we will leave your station in peace." Marcus, Sarah, Ava, and hundreds of others stood with Korthax. But it was the alien wolf who stepped forward to answer. "I am not weak," Korthax projected, his mental voice steady and strong. "I was injured, yes. I needed help, yes. But needing help is not weakness, it is life. Even the strongest hunter may fall." What matters is whether they are lifted up or cast aside. The pack leader's thoughts radiated contempt. Pretty words from one who consorts with aliens. You have forgotten the ways of the Silver Pack. No, Korthax replied. I have learned new ways, better ways, ways that make the pack stronger, not through culling the weak, but by helping them become strong again. He gestured to the humans around him. This is my pack now. They who saved me when our people would not. They who showed me that strength comes in many forms. If you wish to take me, you will have to go through them. And I assure you, their strength is beyond your understanding. The pack leader studied the crowd, humans, but also other aliens, Viridians, Altarians, even a few Kronak, all standing together, all ready to fight for one of their own. For a long moment, tension filled the docking bay. Then unexpectedly, one of the pack leader's warriors stepped forward. I am Zorath, she announced. I flew with Korthax on many hunts. I was there when he fell. I wanted to help him, but pack law forbade it. I have regretted my cowardice every day since. The pack leader turned on her, but Zorath continued. Look at him. Look at what these humans have done. He is stronger than ever. His spirit burns brighter. Perhaps we are the ones who are weak, too weak to show mercy, too weak to help our own. Other warriors shifted uncomfortably. The doubt in Zorath's voice found echo in their thoughts. Korthax seized the moment. You could stay. Learn what I have learned. See that there is strength beyond the hunt, honor beyond tradition. The humans will welcome you, as they welcomed me. The pack leader's mental voice thundered. The Silver Pack does not learn from prey species. Then the Silver Pack will die, Marcus said calmly, stepping forward. Not from war or disaster, but from stubborn pride. The universe is changing. Species are connecting, learning from each other, growing stronger together. Those who insist on isolation, on treating compassion as weakness, will be left behind. He looked at each of the Silver Pack warriors. We're not your enemies. We're not your prey. We're just people, trying to make the universe a little better. Your packmate was dying and we saved him. Not because we wanted something from him, but because it was right. If that threatens you, then you're weaker than you know. The pack leader snarled, but before he could respond, Zorath moved to stand beside Korthax. I choose a new path. If these humans could save one, they had no obligation to help. Perhaps they can teach us to save ourselves from our own rigid ways. One by one, half the warriors moved to join her. The pack leader stood in shock, watching his hunting party divide. This is unprecedented, he projected. You break pack law, you will be exiled, hunted. Then we will be like Korthax, Zorath replied, and perhaps like him, we will find that exile leads to something greater than what we left behind. The pack leader stared at his reduced force, then at Korthax standing tall among his new pack. Without another word, he turned and stalked back to his ship. The remaining warriors followed, but their thoughts were troubled, questioning. As the Silver Pack ship departed, Korthax turned to the assembled crowd. His mental voice carried wonder, gratitude, and determination. When I crashed on that moon, I thought my story was ending. But you gave me a new chapter, a better chapter. You showed me that strength is not standing alone, but standing together. That compassion is not weakness, but the greatest power in the universe. He looked at each face in the crowd, human and alien alike. This is why humanity will not just survive, but thrive among the stars. Not because you are the strongest fighters or the smartest thinkers, but because you do the impossible. You see suffering and act. You find the abandoned and give them hope. You take enemies and make them family. Sarah wiped tears from her eyes. All right, that's enough speeches. I have new patients to examine. Zorath, was it? Let's make sure none of you are carrying injuries you've been too proud to mention. As the crowd dispersed, Marcus found himself walking with Korthax back toward the salvage yards. The alien wolf would join him on runs now, his unique senses and perspective making them the most effective salvage team on the station. "Do you regret it?" Korthax asked suddenly. "That day in the yard, you could have walked away, avoided all of this." Marcus thought about it. His life had certainly become more complicated. He'd nearly lost his job, made enemies in corporate, and become an inadvertent leader in the lower levels' growing movement for alien acceptance. "Not for a second," he said finally. "That day I made a choice to be the person I wanted to be, rather than the person it was safe to be. You helped me find that courage." "We helped each other," Korthax corrected. "That is what Pact does." As they entered the salvage yard, Marcus reflected on how much had changed. What had started as one human refusing to abandon an injured alien had grown into something larger. A movement, a community, a demonstration that the best of humanity wasn't its technology or its ambition, but its simple, stubborn refusal to give up on others. The yard stretched out before them, still filled with broken dreams and abandoned hopes. But now Marcus saw it differently. Each piece of wreckage was potential. Each abandoned ship could be salvaged, rebuilt, given new purpose. Just like Korthax. Just like all of them. "Come on," Marcus said, pulling on his work gloves. "Let's see what impossible things we can fix today." Together, the human mechanic and the alien wolf walked into the salvage yard, ready to do what others said couldn't be done, ready to save what others had abandoned, ready to prove again and again that compassion was humanity's greatest strength, and in the vast, cold universe that made all the difference.